and today we will present you the progress on our WebAmp project.
Yes, to remind you quickly, WebAmp is a web version of famous Winamp music player, and yeah, probably you all see this in your childhood and remember it.
One of the tools we chose for the analysis of our project is Sonar Cloud. So basically it's a static analysis tool, as you all may know. And according to this analysis, our project is production ready, and it was assigned the grade A. However, it has several problems which we aim to fix during this project. So in this section, we will present the problems and the issues that this tool identified. So how it was and how it is now. So the left image is the initial analysis. So the tool found 23 bugs, code smells, and vulnerabilities. And basically, for now, we fixed most of the bugs, some code smells, and all the vulnerabilities. So the first category that this tool assesses your code on is reliability. So it marks the code where the behavior of this code is other than what might be expected. So Sonic Cloud found 23 bugs on 27K lines of code and assigned to our code rating D. But 15 of those bugs were fixed. And for now, we have only 8 left, which we will fix by the end of this project. The next category is security, which marks potential weaknesses for hackers in the code. And as security was not selected as the quality attributes of our top priority, so this is due to the fact that our application is a media player, and it does not require some authorization, authentication, and it does not work with some critical data of the user. So among the vulnerabilities and security hotspots which Sonar Cloud identified, we fixed all the vulnerabilities and marked all security hotspots as resolved. This is because not all of those vulnerabilities are real vulnerabilities, so they must be thoroughly reviewed by the developers themselves to be able to say whether it's a hotspot or no. The next category is maintainability. This marks the code as difficult to update. Sonar found 36 code smells in our project and estimated those code smells so it would take 6 hours to update them, to fix them. But we fixed many code smells and bugs, so the technical debt reduced to only 2 hours. So that's all for the Sonar Cloud, and the next tool we chose are tests. So our project includes unit tests as well as integration tests, and now we will talk a little bit about them. So for unit testing, our project uses Jest framework for JavaScript, and it allows us to write unit tests as well as do snapshots for user interface. So on this picture, you can see the coverage summary of our project. As you can see, the coverage is not very high because those are the tests that were initially included in the code. And for now, we did not write our own unit tests, and this is due to the fact that almost all the functionality that can be tested is tested. And so we are now examining the tests and deciding what else can be done and can be written. But for now, we think that basically all of the critical functionality is tested. So here you can see another report. And for the integration tests, we have 7 snapshot tests, which provide us the possibility to test user interface. And this is critical for our application because most of the code is basically the user interface. And we want to be sure that when we introduce new functions and new features, the user interface is not broken in our application. And now for manual testing.
As we chose several attributes like usability and so on, they usually can be tested only using manual testing. So let's see the results. Actually, the main lesson is that it didn't find many critical errors, but it did find some minor bugs that can reduce the user satisfaction from usage. It was tested in several desktop browsers on macOS like Firefox, Safari, and Chrome, on Android platform using Chrome browser, and on a mobile Safari browser. So, for example, the bugs are like some glitches with user interface and some problems with music animation using Mildrop animator, and the main problem, it does not work on Safari on iOS browser, but not browser, but on iOS system. But actually, I found out that it doesn't work on my device. On other Safari browsers on different phones, it sometimes works, sometimes not. So I don't know, maybe we will be able to figure out what is the problem. Yeah, and another problem that it does not support Mildrop animation in some other browsers, like in Safari completely. There's just no option to choose animation. Yeah, and we also were required to speak about quality model. So let's remind you, we chose macOS quality model, and our attributes are usability, but we partly tested it, but not with the other users. So it will be our goal to test it in the next part of the project. Portability, we tested it through manual testing, as I already told you. Probably we will be able to test it on in other browsers and other operating systems. And stability was covered using unit tests and static analysis. And reliability was also tested using manual testing. So, lessons.
So as for the lessons we've learned from working on this project. So as we've already told you, we used Sonar Cloud, unit testing, integration testing, and manual tests for our project. And so what issues we found when we examined the unit tests of our project? We saw that most of the meaningful tests were already written, and so we should work thoroughly on those tests to somehow increase the coverage. So another thing that which we learned is that Sonar Cloud was extremely useful in our case, because I think this tool is very good when so it identifies the issues which are not visible when, for example, you review the code of your colleagues and so on. And it found many bugs and vulnerabilities in our code which we probably wouldn't find by ourselves. Another thing is that but for the Sonar Cloud, even though it identified a lot of problems, some of them were not applicable in our case. So the thing we learned is that you should manually check all of those issues that Sonar Cloud proposes you to fix to identify whether it's applicable to your project or no. And another thing we learned is that just framework is really good for testing JavaScript because it's really simple. It includes a lot of visualization tools, including coverage of your code, and it also allows you to write integration tests and snapshot tests for your code. So probably that's all from our side, and now we're ready to answer your questions.
Okay, thank you. So the rules would be the same as we did last time. So the audience will ask the questions. So audience, please be prepared to ask questions. So we ask like group 1 by 1, group 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9 and 10, right? We'll need to pass microphone to those people. Do we have a second microphone? Just wonder.
So do we define the group who will ask the question ourselves, or?
Yes. I mean, we go by one by one, group 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So group 4, what would be a question for the group 3?
Group 4. What metrics did you use to measure your quality attributes?
So for the usability, we can come back to our quality attributes. So for usability, as we said, we will test this in the second part of our project, so we didn't do any tests for now. So for manual testing.
Not for manual testing, for portability, yes, attribute. We show the metrics like in how many browsers, on how many operating system platforms it works. It's simple in this case. And yeah, for reliability, in our case, it is important that it just plays music as much as user wants. So we just check if it fails or no. In how much time does it work without failing? And I think that in any usual case, it just should work like 99.99% of the time. It should fail really almost never because it's a music application. And while I manually tested it, it doesn't completely fail. Yes, it just were some glitches with animation. It just might stop working, but the music always played. Yeah, and for testability, probably Nastya will explain that.
And for unit tests, we used coverage, as we showed you on those slides. So here you can see there is the statement coverage, branch coverage, function coverage, and lines coverage. And for what else? Sonar Cloud used those metrics. So the number of bugs, the number of vulnerabilities and hotspots, technical depth in hours, number of code smells. So those are the metrics that we relied on.
Okay, thank you. So next would be group number 5.
Sorry, there is a question from the group number 2.
There is group number 2.
Yes, the question from group number 2.
Excuse me, just to check. Do we have group number 10?
Yes,
yeah. And there is group number 2 as well.
Yes, we are the group number 2, right? Yes. So
no, not an assignment. No, not an submission. So it's like Shahista told me that there is only like a group from 3 to 10. Is it right?
No, we are group number 2, and we have submissions.
Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Probably we didn't send our presentation yet. Yeah, because it's in Google Doc and we didn't manage to send it yet, but we will send it as soon as possible. Can anyone please send it?
Okay.
So my question is the following. In your opinion, how do you think, how sufficient is the manual testing for the portability and reliability?
I think that it is sufficient enough in our case because it's not some critical application. It's just a usual music player, and if you are able to open it on in different browsers on different platforms and just play music, I think it's enough for portability. And for reliability, it may be not that sufficient, but it's enough, in my opinion.
I can add a little bit. So probably manual testing is very time consuming, you may think, but in our case, as this is a JavaScript web application, we can automate this process by running some E2E tests, which automatically will open our application in different browsers and see whether it displays what we want to see or no. So yeah. Next question.
Okay, we'll do without microphone. So
Which group you are? Sorry.
Group 5.
Group 5. Okay.
So two small sub questions. First of all, which license is your project originally? No, well, it's an open source project, correct? Yes. So since you decided to fix some of the bugs, did you try to contribute them back?
Not yet, but I've thought about it because since it's an open source and we just forked the repository, we can easily open the pull request with all the corrections that we did to the code.
Please try to do so.
Have you somehow formalized manual testing process? Do you have a document that describes all the manual tests you performed and outcomes of these tests?
I'm sorry, which group you are?
Какая группа? 6 group it was.
Okay.
So I didn't formalize the whole process, but I have a document where I put down my notes. Well, I opened in one browser and conducted the same operations as everywhere, and I write down all things that I found out for that particular browser. So it's semi-formalized.
Yes, we didn't do that yet, but I think what can be done is that we can write the scenarios as it is done, for example, in many projects in YAML files. So those tests those YAML scenarios can be used as well as for manual testers as well as for automatic tests. Next question.
Which group? Sorry.
Group 10, and the question is, have you tried any other tools like SonarQube?
I thought that SonarQube is just, it's the same as Sonar Cloud, it's just Sonar Cloud runs on, yeah.
Group number 7. Do you have any SRS, software requirement specification, written by author of the project to formalize the process of smoke or manual testing?
For now, I think no, it was not required by the project to write an SRS.
He asks, was it written by the author of the project? No, it wasn't. Well, actually, I think that the requirements for the author of the project was to completely create the same project as Winamp, and as Winamp was probably, as I think, developed by Microsoft, or no? It wasn't. So by some author, probably Winamp has some formal requirements, but this is just a web version of that thing.
As we've previously said, this is an open source project, so very few open source projects have SRS.
Okay, group number 10. I have a question about bugs. So you mentioned that.
I'm sorry, guys. You have group number 10. We have 7. We have 2 groups that didn't ask questions. We need to go group by group.
Okay.
Sorry. So you had your turn. So you please wait next round. Okay, group number 8 or 9.
Hello, we are group number 7, and we didn't ask. We are group number 7. And our question is, how did you select the quality model?
We actually described it how we selected it during the first presentation, but I can repeat because it was a long time ago, I understand. We selected quality model using the following approach. We looked at our project and thought what quality attributes are the most important for a web music player. And we selected like usability, portability, testability, and what else? Reliability, yes. And then we searched through all the quality models and looked for the most suitable for us. And it appeared to be McCall's model. It was group number 9, Rosalia says.
Group number 8. So my question is, you mentioned snapshot testing, UI testing, and you call it integration testing. So I want to ask you to what extent you consider this integration testing, and can you a little bit elaborate how it was done?
So snapshot testing is done with the use of Travis. So every time you commit on Travis, a hook is triggered and integration tests are run. I didn't dive into this topic. Actually, I just know that we can run them manually, and so what those tests do. If you include some functionality or you somehow modify your code, when you run snapshots, you assure that nothing broke among the other components of your web application. So, for example, if you modified somehow the logic of one of your components when you compare the snapshot and the actual result that you get. You run the integration test because you check whether the whole application did not broke. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Group number 3. So now we switch to group number 2. So actually we wanted to get through the order from 2 to 10, but since we haven't found a presentation by group number 2, so we saw the group number 2 disappeared. So in this case, actually, I mean, we need some kind of PDF or something, because I mean, it's translated through Zoom, and so we can't really see. I won't be able to see your presentation if you have to do that on the screen, because I don't see the screen. I only see what the guys on the big machine. Okay, now it's good. So nice.
So maybe start.